That clip is a year old, and the car stolen was a 2014 BMW X5. To get a similar vehicle today, let's say a 2015 BMW X5, you'd have to pay in excess of £20,000. In fact, probably closer to the £30,000 mark. This is an expensive car. Even used, it holds value well. The question is, why is theft among these sort of vehicles so common? If you search for stories on car theft in the UK, you will be bombarded with various articles. Now, I've just started making this video and I've just searched it up. And 4 hours ago, the BBC posted this wonderful article about a couple whose £100,000 car got stolen. Now, £100,000 might seem like a lot of money for a vehicle, but there are plenty of vehicles that can easily be worth that much. And this vehicle is a Range Rover Sport. Now, the base model doesn't cost £100,000, but with a few optional extras, you can easily take the price that high. And you can see here, the vehicle was stolen from directly outside their front door, and it's gone. Stole it. Boom. Now, what happens to these vehicles? They get loaded up onto shipping containers, and these individuals who steal these vehicles hope to make a killing selling parts, selling the vehicles in other countries. And for example, a £100,000 car in the UK might be worth even more abroad because of different import regulations, different laws, etc. You have one here: record number of vehicles stolen recovered by the SVIU in 2022. That means they're recovering these vehicles, and these guys are just special vehicle intelligence unit. You know, they're the only part of the police who actually do anything about this. There's children as young as 12 being convicted of car theft. Tamworth and Cannock, which is an area in the West Midlands near Birmingham. Lots and lots of car theft all across the UK. And it's actually scary. Owning an expensive car is putting a target on your back. Anecdotally, we can see that crime's increasing. News articles every day talking about various crimes. We have here some dude robbing a Gucci bag. You know, well done to him. This dude called Mike Cavendish got robbed. His woman's taller than him as well. Peak times. We have Raheem Sterling. Infamously, he was playing for England in the World Cup in Qatar. His house got robbed by some degenerates, and he had to go back and deal with that. Unfortunate. You also have robbers targeting school-age children in East London, which is a very, very exciting behavior from them. Geniuses. Now, we also have data, and data is what we need to look at to really understand what's going on. However, one thing about data that needs to be considered is data can be manipulated. The way things are discussed in data can influence how the data looks. Now, the police have given us some interesting insights that burglaries down, robberies down, vehicle offences are down, knife-enabled crime is down, everything's down. But a lot of this is they're just highlighting things based on a specific time period in specific parameters. Let's look at this website called Statista. I believe their information comes directly from the ONS as well, which is the same document that we were just looking at. And they have this lovely graph showing number of robbery offences from 2002 all the way to 2022. So in 2002 was the highest level of robberies we've had in the UK. That's 110,000 robbery offences, and these are police recorded robbery offences. So if you don't report the robbery, it's not going to be in the statistics. And gradually from 2002, there's been a gradual decline up until the low point, which was around 2014, 2015, and those were good times in the UK. Things weren't terrible, and I feel like largely the economic problems of the financial crisis, we had sort of gotten better. Then out of nowhere, we had the Brexit proposal. Things got worse again, and robberies and this and that increased. And obviously, this is my own analysis. It's based on my understanding of the broader picture, not set in stone. However, I'm allowed to give my opinion. We also have this massive dip. Nobody needs to guess as to why that is. This is the effect of the coronavirus pandemic. because of the pandemic, people got locked in their houses. I guess maybe there was more police presence. Robberies were probably more difficult to conduct. If everybody's in their homes all the time, you can't rob their homes because they're in their homes. It's a far more higher risk thing to do. However, we do have to notice that from this time, there's been a massive change in the country's kind of stature on the world stage. The cost of living crisis just started now in 2022, and a lot of the information we're getting around robberies and car crime and all of this explosion of crime in the UK has happened in the last 18 months, which have not been appropriately captured in this data. You have some data here from 2021 to 2022, and there has been a slight increase from 2020 to 2021. So there is some evidence that crime is on the rise, and obviously the statistics themselves probably don't tell the whole story. The current position we find ourselves in is because of situations that occurred during the coronavirus pandemic, and no one explained this better than Gary's economics. And he was explaining this during the height of the lockdown, during the height of when it was actually happening, before anybody predicted it, before any main Western media outlet was talking about inflation. There were some US outlets talking about inflation in the US, but nobody in the UK was really worried about it. And what Gary has described 2 years ago is coming to fruition right now. We're seeing the ramification and effects of it.
Huge historic things are happening in the world of money. What's happening in the world of money here is going to dominate the economy for the next few years, quite possibly even the next few decades. But in the UK, the central bank, the Bank of England, has committed to printing £300 billion. It's £4,500 for every single man, woman and child in the country. We know that a lot of new money is coming into the economy, and we know that ultimately it's going to the furloughed workers. But the furloughed workers are no richer than they were before. So where's the money going? The customers who are accumulating money during this crisis are the rich. Richer workers, who tend to work in office jobs and can work from home, have kept their incomes, whereas their spending, which is largely on luxuries, has collapsed.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right?
A few moments later.
The line in front of the community kitchen gets longer every day. Poverty is growing in London.
Deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal.
For somebody who isn't a graduate, there isn't really a lot out there for them to do. So really, is anybody to blame when they put on a balaclava?
Like 25, 30 grand a year in the current world is such a tiny amount of money. Man, it's about to be worse than ever before. It's going to be have-nots and have-yachts. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
But it's going to be...
As inequality increases, the propensity for people to commit crimes also increases. Further to this, there's other issues in the UK, such as government spending being cut by the Conservative government, meaning services such as the police are heavily underfunded. This means that crime is more likely to go unpunished. Therefore, there is a greater risk to reward ratio for committing crime. This is just some of the factors that are exacerbating the current crisis around crime in the UK. In this graph, in this chart that I have, this scatter plot, there is a weak correlation between the Gini coefficient, which is a measure of a country's inequality, with more unequal countries having a larger point number, and the percentage risk of theft to a business. So you have countries like, I believe this is Namibia, which is quite unequal, and it has a far higher risk of theft to a business than, I believe this is Jordan, which is somewhat more equal in terms of income inequality. There are also other studies which do also back this up, there's questions around inequality and deprivation, leading to increasing crime rates. Now in the UK, the trend currently is that some people are getting richer at the expense of others, but the effect this has on actual crime rates is witnessed now, anecdotally at least, and I believe it will come through in the statistics in the near future. If you aren't aware of South Africa and the state of the country of South Africa, you should familiarize yourself with the future direction of many great nations on this planet. South Africa is the poster card for violence, inequality, and criminality on a mass scale. It is full of gated communities of well-off people trying to protect themselves from armed, dangerous criminals. And the direction that a lot of Western countries are heading towards is this sort of a dystopian reality. It's crazy, but if things are not done to curtail this level of inequality growing, we might be in for a brave new world, as Aldous Huxley wrote.